Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Force with some more Destiny coverage. Today I'm going to show you a good chunk of gameplay. We'll actually be taking a look at the Summoning Pits strike. This is the second strike that you come across in the game, the first one being the Devil's Lair, which is set in Old Russia Earth. And this strike is set on the moon location. Now, after playing this game for several hours, a bunch yesterday and a bunch today, I can safely say that this is my favorite part of Destiny so far. Beyond that guy just fell over the cliff. Beyond, the fact that the gameplay is tight, smooth, and enjoyable, the general story missions and a lot of the gameplay experience, it is pretty much just running around and shooting. But these strikes have been quite a challenge and have been very, very fun as a result because, as we all know, challenging gameplay makes for interesting, fun, and enjoyable gameplay. At least that's how it is for me. There's a fine line between challenge and accessibility, but I think these strikes definitely hit it. The first one, the Devil's Lair, wasn't so much challenging as it was monotonous, but this second strike, there's some really, really tough parts. You're taking a look, this is actually my fourth run-through of the strike. My very first run-through took several hours with numerous wipes on the final boss, although I believe in this run we do get the boss on the first attempt. I don't think we have a full wipe at all. Or maybe we had one, but then we got it on the second try. But anyways, it's fun. We're just going to go straight through from start to finish here. The entire run took this time about 20 minutes. That just goes to show you, man, again, on the first run, it took multiple hours. It was more than 1 hour. And this run is just 20 minutes because I had a group. There's a few reasons, actually. Number one, on my first attempt, we went in, I think we were like level 10 or 11, and the suggested level is 12 for this. I think that definitely made a difference. I also had, grenading myself, I also had quite a bit of significant gear upgrades from my first attempt to this attempt that you're seeing here. And this part was awesome. We're all supercharged. This is the second wave, essentially, and they're all coming in here. We got some tough guys with the yellow health bar. The ones with the yellow health bar are a little bit more difficult to hit than the normal enemies. But yeah, just completely blew all of them up. Got some wizards that will be coming up very soon as well. Well, something I haven't really talked about much in covering this game is just sort of, I guess, an overview of the UI. I just want to explain to you exactly what you're looking at if you haven't played Destiny before, or if you're looking at it for the first time, potentially. So let's just quickly go through it. First of all, in the lower left-hand corner, we've got two cooldowns. In fact, the grenade cooldown just finished there. So the one on the left is the cooldown for your grenade. The one on the right is the cooldown for your special melee attack. Every one of the classes has a unique melee attack that they can use. For example, the hunter can throw a ranged, I think it's like a knife. And me, I've got the super power fist that will just like disintegrate enemies. And then every type of, every class also has a unique grenade that they throw. So the grenade that I throw right now will also blind targets, so they stumble around unable to shoot and basically making them easy targets. I also have the option to get like a pulsing grenade that will deal damage every few seconds and just sort of stick on the ground for a little while. And then just above that big yellow bar, that is the special bar. That will charge up as you engage in combat and also as you pick up motes of light, which other heroes will drop. You see those little things on the ground right there across the way? Those are motes of light that you can pick up after you use the super to recharge it quicker. And they basically drop when other people use their super. So you can see I just use my super, and then once I walk over those motes of light back there, I will pick up, I'll pick up and we'll get that recharge much quicker. So yeah, those are the basically the three special abilities that everyone has: a grenade, a special melee, and then their ultimate, or orbs of light, excuse me. They're called orbs of light, not motes of light. And then we've got our three weapon swaps. There's primary, secondary, and then special or heavy weapon. Primary is the slot that you see me have here. It's got yellow ammo. The secondary are shotguns and sniper rifles, and I think they're called pulse rifles is the third one. That is the green ammunition. And then the last one, the heavy weapons, that is purple ammunition. So anytime you see ammo spots on the ground, yellow, green, and purple, those will fill up those respective slots no matter which weapon you're using. So in my primary slot, whether I'm using a hand cannon or a scout rifle, picking up white ammo will fill up that ammunition. And then also in the upper left-hand corner, we have the minimap. The minimap's rather interesting. You'll see red lines for enemies that are in a direction related to where you're facing further away. And then the red areas that are filled in, those quadrants that are closer, that means they're a little bit closer. And then when the red is right on top of you, that means there's an enemy right around you. So it's much different than a lot of shooters use, where they just put the dots showing exactly where the enemies are. But I've still found it fairly helpful, especially if you don't see right behind you. The red right on top of your character will tell you there's someone in your immediate vicinity. You should probably turn around if you can't see them right in front of your face. And on the top, we've got the shield regeneration. On the bottom, you can see your current level progression, and that's basically it. I can't believe I honestly just spent like 5 minutes describing the UI. I figure it was worth it, though, just to clarify any questions anyone may have. And I know a lot of it's pretty straightforward, but I figured I need something to talk about. So now we can talk a little bit about the enemies. We can talk a little bit about the strike itself. This is, once again, on the moon, the second strike that you encounter, called the Summoning Pits. The general premise is the enemy type that we're facing off against here are known as the Hive, and they're sort of the swarming, really alien type. I mean, they're all alien, you know, but these are, I mean, a direct correlation you could do is to the Swarm from the Halo series. That's the general feel and the vibe of these. Very insect-like creatures. And there are swarming enemies, there are like sniper-type enemies, there are heavy enemies. I mean, they split it up. You know, the standard ways that you expect them to split something like this up. The enemy types, they do vary in some ways, but then there's also a lot of similar things. Like every race has like their big, heavy, imposing creature, their sort of captain, if you will. The Hive here, they're big imposing creatures. There's two of them. There's Knights, which are a melee one, and then there are the Warlocks, and I think we'll be seeing some of those. These Acolytes sort of act as like ranged sniper type characters, if you will, and then we're about to walk into some heavily armored of the Knight characters. You'll notice they're called Hollowed Knights here, and they've got that yellow health bar. That basically means that they're just much harder to kill than with the red health bar. And then whenever you see those white lines above the nameplates, those are the shields for the characters, and those are usually on the larger, more imposing foes. The average, regular, mundane ones won't have those. So you basically have to be especially worried if you have someone with yellow armor and a white bar. That's going to be an enemy that's very difficult to take out. And we worked through the wave section. We are now on the final part, and actually in the summoning pits themselves, this is where the boss fight takes place. And it's just not a regular boss fight. There's that guy chained to the center of the room, as you can see. But while you were here, you're also constantly being swarmed by the enemies. You're constantly being swarmed by the Hive. You got people running up to you all the time. We're going to be Warlocks spawning all over the place, and Knights flinging stuff, Acolytes shooting us from a distance. It is an absolute crazy fight. This is the particular part where in my first run we had numerous wipes. You just have to be incredibly careful. There's enemies spawning from all directions at all times. I found the best method, a little bit of a pro tip here, I found the best method for actually completing this fight successfully is to try to make sure you clear all of the ads first. It's a very simple, especially in sort of MMO dungeon run, for people who are familiar with that sort of scene. Lots of boss fights involve deal with the ads and then focus on the boss. I was originally told that there were only 4 spawn waves, but in the run that I did where we were trying to do this fight for over an hour, it seems like there are much more than four spawns. It just seems that they will eventually keep on coming. It's just a matter of how quick you're able to clear the waves before the next wave is making its way on in. But the first few waves at the very least, and that could be incorrect because my last few runs we've managed to down the boss relatively quickly. I'm doing a lot more damage, as well as my teammates are doing a lot more damage than we did in the initial attempts. But I guess the point is deal with the ads and then poke at the boss while you can. We're gonna be, I pretty much focus entirely on the ads here for this first look. The boss is insane. After he unchains himself, he just gets this giant purple pulsing laser beam of death. It's absolutely horrendous. Very annoying, difficult to deal with, to say the least. So I'm basically just trying to cover my allies' butts here and make sure that I'm safe at the same time without dying. They are walking into that area. A problem with there, though, is there's a Shrieker in there. Yeah, I don't know if you saw, just for a brief second, there's this basically like a floating diamond which will constantly shoot homing missiles at you. They put that in there to try to stop people from sitting in there, because it's kind of a safe spot. I guess the idea, design-wise, conceptually, from what I could tell of this fight, is they want you constantly moving, dodging fire, taking out enemies as quick as you can, and then trying to deal with the boss. So they try to make it so that we couldn't just basically hide in that corridor, the entryway that we came from, without fully just blocking off the wall. So they didn't want to say, all right, we're just gonna lower the gate here. They said you can still go in here, but you're gonna die pretty quickly if this is what you're using as a safe haven. You can see I got taken down. Problem with this is that I'm way away from my allies, so they're gonna actually have to make it across the map. This guy's pretty nearby though. Yeah, so he's pretty nearby. He's able to come down. Now, if your allies can't res you, if they can't get to you, it's not necessarily the end of the world. There is a timer that eventually, when it goes up, you can res yourself. It'll put you in a safe location, or at least momentarily safe location, somewhere within or near the boss fight. So what'll happen is sometimes I'll have an ally that gets down, but if he's in a super hot location with tons of enemies that I can't deal with and safely res him, all I need to do, or all you need to do, is just try to stay alive long enough for that player to be able to res themselves. That's a legitimate tactic that can be used on this boss fight. And I know I haven't been engaging with the boss up until this point, because I have been primarily focused on cleaning up these ads before we do that. I sort of decide, though, halfway through that maybe just to not worry about that half of the room, because some of them seem to still be sitting up on their... That was a good punch. Some of them seem to just be sitting up on that little pavilion there and not coming after us. So I sort of decided, let's just stay on this side now, and we can deal with the ads that spawn over here, and then we can start dealing with the boss. And we just got a few more cleanups, and then I'm going to start poking at the boss here. This is not like an optimal run through. I probably should have started shooting at the boss a little bit sooner than I was, but I just wanted, it's so, you can just die so quickly when you get completely swarmed by all those enemies. And now, as you can see, we've dealt with a majority of them on our side, at least for the time being. So now I'm going to start shooting at the boss. Now, he's got a weak spot right in his chest. There's like this little sack-looking thing that's glowing right on his chest piece, I guess, where you would assume, if they have the same biology as humans, right around where his heart would be located. There's that little sack there, and you just want to aim for that, and that's where you're going to get some bonus critical damage, which is a good shooting spot. We're going to have a bunch more guys still spawn. Dropships come from the back of the room, that little spot that you saw me sitting. In fact, there was just a dropship that just went down, so we're going to have some enemies coming behind me, as you can see on the radar right there. So toss a grenade. Those dudes explode. Those blue guys that sort of walk around holding themselves as if they're chilly or something. They are exploding type enemies that if they get near you, they're going to pop and they're going to do a crap ton of damage. So try to make sure that you either pop them off before they get near you, or just try to move around. Look at that. See how crazy that lightning beam is, or whatever, that pulsing beam from that guy? I just can't get over it. So you can see we've got 2 allies down right now. Now I look over there and say, there are a lot of enemies over there. There's a warlock chasing me. This is what I was referring to earlier. I'm not going to run all the way over there to try to res them. I am just going to stay alive long enough for them to be able to revive themselves. And if it weren't for this mechanic, this thing would be so much more frustrating than it already can be. You know, you're seeing a relatively smooth run, but it's not, especially if you go in before level, if you go in like right away at level 10, under geared, it's gonna be a good challenge. But the good thing is, if you can get in here and if you get a group that can complete it, this rewards level 10 blue items, which are amazing. I'm level 14 right now, not at this video point, but as of this moment in the game itself, I'm level 14, and I'm still using those level 10 blues just because they're that darn good. They really are. This guy braved it, ran in, he had his ultimate up, so he was able to revive us, which was very nice. And we got a few more guys just jumping and hopping around here, so we're gonna punch him and shoot him and get this guy. Beautiful. Yeah, so as I mentioned at the top, this is undoubtedly my favorite part of Destiny right now. Just the strikes, these dungeon type missions, I've just found so very fun because they're challenging, because I'm not, you know, the main game itself, it's not super challenging. The patrol missions or the exploration mode, depending on there's an exploration mode on Russia, but then the equivalent on the moon is called patrol, and it's basically the idea that the entire zone is opened up and you can do all these little quests. All the quests for that stuff, it's pretty mundane, it's pretty basic, it follows the tropes of MMO questing. Go to a location, pick up a thing. Go to a location, kill enemies. Kill enemies, they drop a thing, you pick it up. It's very basic stuff. Throwaway dialogue is a good phrase for it. There'll just be one or two lines that say, oh, we're in trouble. We need you to pick this up for our research or whatnot. So that stuff, you know, I do it specifically for the bounties. You pick up bounties and you go through the patrol or the exploration modes, and those bounties give you a ton of experience. They also give you reputation, which will later be used to purchase gear once I get to level 20. And so I do it for that reason. I do it just as in an MMO that I would grind for reputation or grind for experience. That is why I go into that mode. But you know, beyond the shooting itself being enjoyable, there's nothing that really stands out in that aspect. And I also have to say, the story itself, I haven't been super impressed with, and I put part of the onus on myself because I'm not really getting that into it, so I just kind of started ignoring the dialogue. I mean, where the Earth's in trouble, there are bad guys coming. That's about the extent as to what I could tell you about the story in Destiny. And I fully admit, part of it's just me not caring and me not paying attention, but it hasn't been enthralling to me. And while you can just say, well, Force, if you were actually listening and all this stuff, then maybe you'd get the story. I'm not sitting here saying there's no story. I'm sitting here saying there have been prior games that I've played that have had very enticing stories that have pulled me in. And that's just not what this game has done for me, so I haven't been too impressed with it. Now, part of that reason could also be, beyond me just not getting that into it, part of the reason could also be, it's not really why I'm playing this game. Why am I playing Destiny? Because I love loot-driven games, and this game has loot. You're getting upgrades, your character is progressing, you are feeling more powerful, and this game has fantastic gameplay. The active shooting is fun. Now, if you don't like the active shooting, or if you don't like the idea of just shooting enemies and periodically punching them, throwing a grenade, and then once every other fight using a super, if that does not sound interesting or fun to you, then you're probably not going to like Destiny, because when it boils down to it, the nuts and bolts, that's what this game is. It is just you shooting all the time. It was me shooting yesterday, and sometimes throwing a grenade, and sometimes using an ultimate for several hours. 9 hours yesterday. I put in a couple more hours today. Once I'm done doing all my YouTube videos for the day, I'll be putting in a few more hours. It's fun to play on that front, and I'm loving the challenge of the strikes, but the story stuff and like the exploration patrol stuff, it's just more shooting. So just realize that when you're going into it. And that's not me complaining about it, but it's just sort of me, I guess, telling you how it is. And with that said, we have now successfully finished the fight. So congratulations, you guys got to see a clear of the summoning pits. The boss is, it's insane. It's a lot of fun. And what I continue to be most excited for is to see the strikes after this, as well as the end game raids. I want to see what that's all about. I want to see how challenging it is, and thusly how fun it is. So thanks guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I also hope you have a fantastic day. I will see you tomorrow. Keep watching and keep owning.